At the end of Lent in 1231, Anthony was very tired, and his fellow friars were considering the most appropriate way to help him regain some health and strength when some of the most powerful families in Padua arrived at the friary. They asked him to use his authority to intervene with Ezzelino da Romano in Verona. In that time, Ezzelino was one of the most evil and bloodthirsty tyrants, so much so that Dante Alighieri, in his Divine Comedy, placed him in the seventh circle of hell, among those who were violent against their neighbors. By all accounts, he was a true son of the devil. It is said that his favorite way of getting rid of political opponents was to kill them after long days of torture. But what had happened to cause the Paduan nobles to seek the intercession of Brother Anthony? Some of their sons had been taken as hostages and were now languishing in the Ezzelino's prisons. Among them was Count Rizzardo di San Bonifacio, actually a relative of the tyrant, due to having married his sister. The powerful families had therefore come to the Franciscan friary because they were convinced that only Brother Anthony, enjoying the esteem and the veneration of all, could ask for the release of their sons. Anthony, even if debilitated by fatigue and illness, could not refuse the appeal, and the next day he set out for the wolf's den. A long and tiring journey awaited him, since Verona is a good 55 miles from Padua. In May of that year, the powerful and arrogant tyrant and the humble Franciscan friar thus found themselves facing each other. It was certainly a tense moment in which Anthony, appealing to Christian charity and certainly not to political motives, asked that the prisoners to be allowed to return to their families. But with what attitude did Ezzelino receive this request?
I was curious to meet that friar I had heard so much about. I asked him to sit down, but he refused. He told me that he had come to help me do good. Do good? Father, I said to him, I was still a child when I had already understood that good is divided into two parts, our own and that of others. I, of course, chose what was good for me, just as you, friar, will have chosen what you think is good for you. He looked at me with a sad air, as if what he was talking about was beyond my mental capacity, and then added, what I chose was the good of all. There cannot be our own good. There is only a common good, and this good goes from us to others, and from others to us, as indeed does evil, and you, sir, move so much evil. How dare he say that to me? To me, Ezzelino da Romano. I had him thrown out.
Anthony faced the return journey with the bitterness of defeat in his mouth. He was especially sorry that he had run into the obstinacy of a heart of stone, which had wanted to be deaf to the announcement of peace so much desired by the Lord. Once again, Anthony had had to experience the fact that unfortunately, many times, evil can resist the gospel, and indeed the bloody fights did not cease and the prisoners were not set free. For Jesus, loving our neighbor means treating others with kindness, compassion, and mercy, seeking to meet their needs and welcoming the other with love, respect, and without discrimination. And this applies not only to those who are close to us, but also to those who may be strangers, different from us, and even those who may have harmed us. Let us therefore pray to St. Anthony. Dear St. Anthony, help us to see the face of Christ in every person we meet and to treat each other with respect, kindness, and generosity. Amen.